From the Delhi studios of Republic TV, it's time for Arnab Goswami on The Debate.
Ukraine has neither confirmed nor denied striking targets in Russia. But if it has, it means that the war is playing into both America and Russia's hands. That Ukraine is playing both into Russia and America's hands, and Russia will be very happy. Because if Ukraine has been striking in Russia, then Ukraine loses the moral high ground it has had so far. In a way, then it will be an open war between Ukraine and Russia and not a one-sided invasion. And America will also be very happy, because without any risk to itself, without any effort, without any sacrifice by a single American or any member of the American bloc, Ukraine would have thrown itself into a proxy war versus Russia, in which only the people of Ukraine, not the people of America, not the people from any other allied country of America will be affected and will be killed. For the American war industry, this is a delightful situation, because the war will mean an economic boom for them. For the American geostrategists, it will be a bonanza in which Russia will be hurt for a long, long time by entering into an Afghanistan-like insurgency in Ukraine. So who's going to suffer? The only people who will suffer will be the Ukrainians. And the only people who will be affected will be us, ladies and gentlemen, us, all of us, all the billions on this planet who will live under the shadow of a sudden and dangerous escalation in this crazy war game, where irrational players like Putin and crazy figures like Kim wield nuclear weapons like toys. That's the reality. And that's why I think Ukraine, if it is making a huge mistake. If indeed it has decided to start directly striking Russia in response, it's going to be a big mistake. Two debates, ladies and gentlemen, today. In some time, I'm going to be joined on the day of a massive escalation. Ukraine striking Russia. Has the war taken a most gruesome turn? Debate number one. And joining me exclusively tonight is former Ukrainian Prime Minister Volodymyr Groysman. He's going to be joining me live in a couple of minutes. And also, ladies and gentlemen, as Russia's Foreign Minister Lavrov completes his visit to India, America fumes, but why shouldn't India's foreign policy stand on its own? That's debate number two, and here are the headlines. This Friday evening on The Debate Tonight. Russia claims Ukraine has been striking oil depots on its soil. Videos show choppers firing missiles at them. Several videos capture the choppers retreating after the strike. Ukraine will neither confirm nor deny the attack. Russia strikes harder, says the Ukrainian strike could hamper the future of talks. Strikes harder and hits Ukraine with more missiles.
Indian foreign policy is characterized by independence and the concentration on real national legitimate interests. An important part of the international relations. We always
Putin's right-hand man Lavrov holds key meeting in India, meets Prime Minister Modi, praises India's foreign policy on the subject. New Delhi tells Moscow we are ready to assist in peace talks and mediation if needed. And India shows how it's done. Global focus on New Delhi's policy as it puts people and national interests first. And ladies and gentlemen, just when we hope to see a scale down, Ukraine and Russia have both escalated the war. Videos show oil depots 40 kilometers inside Russian territory allegedly being struck by missiles fired by choppers. Russia says the talks as a result will be a casualty. Did Ukraine just strike Russia? Let's debate.
A series of strikes seen from a distance inside Russian territory. At least 4 missiles bombarding oil depots. Watch this 17-second video. Missiles raining down as choppers fly by after dropping munition on Belgorod oil depot inside Russia on Russian soil. The aftermath of the attack is captured minutes later. Nearly 24 hours on, the blaze hasn't been contained, seen from different vantage points across the Russian border city. Watch this video of the choppers flying low, believed to have been shot minutes later. A 15-second video that shows choppers retreating after their mission was complete.
Republic Media Network has also been closer to Belgorod in a city called Huptivka. Remember, that's the very place where, before the invasion actually began, there was a built-up from the Russians in the Belgorod, and several military bases are actually in and around Belgorod area. Now, if you just simply take a look at the visuals that have basically come in, it shows one of the attack helicopters launching a missile targeting the oil depot. This comes in the backdrop of multiple oil depots that have been targeted by the Russians. So it does look like at this point in time some sort of a retaliatory move by the Ukrainians.
Ukraine on record is denying the attack while blaming Russia for the aggression.
I can neither confirm nor reject the claim that Ukraine was involved in this, simply because I do not possess all the military information.
What Ukraine has confirmed, though, is this. Watch how choppers were shot down mid-air. They claim these were Russian choppers. What's also confirmed tonight is an escalation by Russia. Look at how Iskander missiles were deployed in at least 2 locations today. Is the war taking a more gruesome turn tonight? Let's debate.
And joining me direct from Kiev is the former Prime Minister of Ukraine, Volodymyr Groysman, and he's joined on this interview by his interpreter, Yuri Bodenchuk. Thank you very much, Yuri, for helping us, and thank you very much, Mr. Groysman, for agreeing to speak to all our viewers this evening. Mr. Groysman, we are talking on a day when there are reports that that Ukraine has carried out an airstrike against Russia, and Russia is saying that Ukraine has carried out an airstrike at a fuel depot in the Russian city of Belgorod. As someone with an ear on the ground, can you confirm if this is true? Do you think it's true?
Пане Гройсман, сьогодні ми говоримо в той день, коли Росія звинувачує Україну в нанесенні авіаудару по нафтобазі в Белгороді. Як той, хто знаходиться на місці в Україні, чи можете ви підтвердити чи спростувати цю інформацію?
Вітаю, Арнаб. Дякую за можливість сьогодні поспілкуватися з вами. Ну, перше, що би я хотів сказати, що війну проти України розпочав режим Путіна, який кожного дня бомбардує українські міста і вбиває громадян України, просто людей, дітей. І це є справжнім геноцидом, який він розпочав у 21 столітті в центрі Європи. Це є факт, доконаний факт.
Hello, Arnab. Thanks very much for this opportunity to talk to you this evening. First thing I would like to say is that this war was started by Putin, by his regime. He is killing peaceful people and bombarding peaceful cities, and this is really a genocide, and this is a fact.
Що стосується офіційної позиції України, то, як заявив міністр закордонних справ, ми не можемо це не підтвердити, ні спростувати.
As far as the official position of Ukraine about this airstrike is concerned, just like the foreign minister mentioned already, we cannot either confirm or reject this information.
I take that. Mr. Groisman, is it in Ukraine's interest to strike back at Russia?
Sorry, there seems to be a problem with the connection. I didn't hear the question.
Repeat, please.
Yuri, yeah, absolutely, Yuri. Yuri, my question to Mr. Groisman is this. Mr. Groisman, in your view, you have been Prime Minister of your country. Is it in Ukraine's interest to militarily strike within Russian territory?
Пане Гройсман, ви були прем'єр-міністром, маєте досвід. Як, на вашу думку, чи відповідає це інтересам України завдавати ударів по території Росії?
Я би по-іншому поставив питання, шановний Арнаб. Тут питання не в інтересах, тут питання в тому, що Путін розв'язав війну в Європі. І насправді він створює військові злочини проти людства, і за це він має бути покараний. І тому мені, напевно, я би хотів сьогодні звернутися і до Індії, до вашого народу, найбільшої країни в світі і найбільшої демократії, з тим, що те, що відбувається, потрібно цьому поставити край, це треба зупинити. І весь демократичний світ має об'єднати зусилля. Тому наш інтерес України полягає в єдиному. Ми мирна країна, ми ні на кого не нападали, а навпаки, ми обороняємо свою державу, свою землю і робимо це достатньо ефективно. Але мова йде про те, що ми маємо привести до відповідальності і покарати Путіна. Давайте говорити про це і зупинити його.
I would put this question in a slightly different manner, dear Arnab. The question is that Putin has started a war in Europe. He is committing war crimes in Europe. And I would also like to appeal to India as the biggest democracy in the world, because we all need to stop him together. And our interest is not about attacking. Our interest is in protecting our land. We didn't attack anyone, but we need to stop Putin together already now.
Росія сьогодні є генератором криз, і ми всі відчуємо її наслідки. Перше – це безпекова криза, яку він створив. Друге – це енергетична криза, яку він створив в світі. І третє – це продовольча криза. І тут я теж хотів би торкнутися того, що продовольча криза і вдарить, на превеликий жаль, в тому числі і по Індії.
And we also need to understand and to make it clear that Russia today is a generator of various crises. It has created security crisis. It has created energy crisis throughout the world. It is also creating food crisis right now. And unfortunately, the food crisis caused by Russia will also influence India.
І людству потрібен мир. А мир можливо досягти в нинішніх умовах при досягненні трьох важливих речей. Перше – це закрити небо. Друге – це зупинити Китай, якщо він захоче надати підтримку російському вбивчому режиму Путіна, економічно або військово. І третє – треба зробити все, щоб позбавити Путіна влади, тому що він її використовує для масових вбивств і злочинів проти людства.
Today humanity needs peace, and this peace can only be achieved through three clear things. First priority is to close the sky over Ukraine. Second priority is to stop China, to warn China that it cannot assist Putin if it opts to do so, because it's a criminal regime. And the third thing is to do everything to rid Putin from power because he is an international war criminal.
І економічно санкції, які були прийняті проти режиму, вбивчого режиму Путіна, вони мають бути тільки посилені. І тому його посланці, такі як такий же військовий злочинець Лавров, які відвідують сьогодні різні столиці. Я знаю про те, що він був в Індії, пропонуючи чи не пропонуючи, а шукаючи рятівник. Я впевнений в тому, що Індія як демократія, глобальна демократія, має стати на сторону добра, а не потискати руку представнику диявола, яким є Путін.
And that was also the reason for the economic sanctions to be in place against Putin's regime. I think those sanctions should be further strengthened, and his envoys like Mr. Lavrov, who is also a war criminal, who is traveling around various capitals. I know that he has also been to India, and who is traveling around and looking for a helping hand. I believe that India, as a global democracy, should take the side of light and not give any help to criminal regime of Putin.
Mr. Groisman, you mentioned Sergei Lavrov. Mr. Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, is now in New Delhi. He is right now in New Delhi, and he has said that a country like India can play a role of mediation. Do you think that is a possibility? Will that help?
Пан Лавров зараз знаходиться в Нью-Делі, і він сказав, між іншим, що такі країни, як Індія, зокрема, могла би відігравати роль посередника. Чи ви думаєте, що це можливо?
Саме головне, щоб не виконувати роль адвоката диявола. І сьогодні вони шукають по світу тих, хто може їх рятувати, їхню вбивчу економіку. Вони пропонують вам сьогодні, створюючи продовольчу кризу, пропонують вам замістити її якимись знижками на нафту. Так я хочу сказати, що ця нафта, вона є кривавою. І наше завдання сьогодні, щоб режим Путіна, який розпочав цю війну, і мав, можливо, глобальний план, він був зупинений. Тому посередництво, безумовно, має бути. Але я впевнений в тому, що світ розділився на дві частини. Це чорна частина, зла і біла частина. Я би дуже хотів, щоб Індія, індійці були на стороні добра, на білій стороні світу. Щоб ми покінчили з цими загрозами, щоб ми встановили стійкий мир, а не якось по-іншому. І ще одну річ треба пам'ятати завжди. В останні часи російська дипломатія суцільно базується на обмані і брехні.
Yeah. Most important here is not to play a role of devil's advocate, because what we see now, Putin, who caused a food crisis, is now trying to replace this food crisis with some oil discounts to India, from what I know. But you need to understand that this is bloody oil. His plans were already ruined in Ukraine. And of course, there has to be some sort of mediation. But today, the world has clearly divided into two parts, into good part and evil part. And I hope very much that India will be on the light side, on the good side, because only together we will be able to defeat Putin and to make a stable peace in the world. And one more thing which we should also bear in mind, that recently Russian diplomacy has always been based on lies. So this is not diplomacy, this is just a lie.
Yes. Mr. Groisman, I'm very grateful to you for talking to me. Today is the 37th day. The death toll has increased, and the brave Ukrainians are fighting back. We stand with you, and every which way in which your message has gone out for peace will reach a lot of people across the world. I'm most grateful to you and to Yuri for helping us with this interview.
Thank you, Arnab. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Groisman. Thank you, Yuri. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, on this evening, I'm joined by Peter Zalmayev from Kiev. He's the director of the Eurasia Democracy Initiative. We have Bogdan Nahalio, who's chief editor of the Kiev Post. He's joining us from Barcelona. We have Yaroslav Bosko. He's political analyst and head of the Doctrine Center for Political Studies from Lviv. I have Nikita Menkovich, director of the Eurasian Analytical Club from Moscow. We have Alexander Bodunov, geopolitical analyst from Moscow, and Boris Wolskonsky, who's from Moscow State University. Thank you very much, everyone. Now, Peter, did Ukraine strike Russia? Did Ukraine send helicopters to strike a fuel depot in the Russian city of Belgorod today? Did that happen? Was there a Ukrainian hand?
What we heard this morning when we woke up was the information by Russian media that this was a strike by 2 Ukrainian helicopters, and that was it. I can only repeat what the foreign minister of Ukraine has said, that it's there's no comment, and they can neither confirm nor deny this. So at this point, we just don't know what exactly happened. But
no, but that's
again,
not. That doesn't work. No. It can't be.
Yeah.
It can't be. No. Bogdan. Let me go to Bogdan. It can't be a situation where there has been these kind of strikes on Russian territory, and the Ukrainian responses we can neither confirm nor deny. What does that mean, Bogdan? We can neither. If the Ukraine is not involved, it should deny. I don't understand the suspense.
Arnab, please listen to me, because I have to go to Canadian TV.
Yes.
There have been hundreds of strikes by the Russians on Ukrainian territory, hundreds. If this is the first one, I welcome it. It's about time that the Ukrainians got their act together and struck at the Russians. About time. So even if the Ukrainian authorities are fudging and don't want to declare this, I think it's about time. Hundreds of strikes, not just on military, sites, but on civilian sites. So let's be fair. This is a totally asymmetrical conflict, and the Russians deserve everything that they get. If the Ukrainians have the force and the missiles, give it to them. It's about time that the Russian population also felt what they are inflicting for a month, for 5 weeks on the Ukrainians. So yes, I hope it is true. I hope it is true, and I hope that diplomacy is
then it's also an escalation, Bogdan.
The Ukrainians are
then it's also an escalation.
It's not an escalation.
But it's also an
escalation
is a clear escalation.
Arnab, please listen to me. Arnab, the Russian forces are still in Ukraine. They are occupying a third of Ukraine. They are bombing, killing civilians. That is the escalation. The fact that the Ukrainians are defending themselves is not an escalation, my friend. No, it cannot be an escalation.
No, the way, so can I just...
You are defending yourself. If you were defending yourselves against Pakistan or China and you were striking back, you wouldn't call it escalation. You would say self-defense. So let's be honest and let's not change the narrative to suit, publicistic purposes. Let's be fair. Come on.
Let's not be judgmental. Also, Bogdan, just hear my response to you, please. I want you to hear the view from Moscow, but before I go to Moscow, and I'll get Nikita and Alexander to respond to you. I know you have a few minutes. I still have 7 minutes with you. The way I look at it is that Russia will be very happy at this, heart of heart, because Russians will say that the Ukrainians have lost the moral high ground. Now neither side is blameless. It becomes open war. So far it was an invasion.
Come on.
Now it becomes an open war.
Social terrorism.
Are you playing into the hands of the Russians? For God's sake, they have been bombing, killing our
I play
people
into
for
nobody's
5
hands.
weeks
I'm just
now.
giving my view.
You know, what moral high ground? They are in the pits. They are in hell, moral high ground. And the fact that we are killing thousands of their young people is unfortunate, because Putin is a killer. You know, it's unfortunate. And if some of their cities and oil depots get struck, they deserve it, and they deserve a lot more, because they are killers, they are war criminals, and that these Putinist, what should we call them? Mercenaries that you have on the show, that one that's smiles. Listen, they need to know the truth. They are Putinist.
Okay, Boris is responding to you. Bohdan, just look at the way the Russians are looking at it. I just want you to hear the Russian response, please. Thank you. Let's hear the Russian response. You still have a few minutes with you. Boris is saying something to Bohdan.
The Russians are killers.
It's a very speaking for itself. Then when a pure person justifying international terrorism calls anybody a war criminal, he's an international terrorist himself, and he will be brought to justice when Russia accomplishes its objective against Ukraine.
International terrorist. Russia
you are an international terrorist. You are an international terrorist because you're justifying Ukrainians.
You are the killers. You are the killers.
You are the killers. You are the killers.
You are the terrorists. You are the international terrorists. You pay for them. Putin is the international terrorist personified. My friend, get your
You're not my man
off this face. You are a killer.
Brought to justice.
Nikita.
You're a Putinist mercenary, killer, accessory,
you are a killer.
Killer.
You killer.
Your beard is in blood, and you for decades will be in blood. Your children will curse you. Your children will curse you for the killing that you
for 8 years.
Your children will curse you. You are a killer. You are a Putinist mercenary prostitute. A prostitute.
You are a killer, and you will be brought to justice.
Yes,
I will be the one who will hang you.
The killing and bombing of civilians and of cities, and of declaring war going against
this madman from Kyiv.
Okay, 1 minute. Nikita is also responding right now. Nikita is responding. Bohdan. Nikita.
Nikita
is saying
can
something to
anybody
Bohdan.
switch off the madhouse from the Kyiv? Nobody can talk because of this man crying something mad. Please, give a chance for ordinary discussion. But I'm afraid this man seems kind of gay pride.
Bohdan, I request you.
Hear me.
Bohdan, I request you.
No, we don't want
Bohdan, I request you. Bohdan, I just request you. I'm only saying today. I'm only saying today. If I can be on screen, please. Otherwise, I can't bring this to order. My point here tonight is this: Bohdan Nahaleo. I'm requesting Nikita to come into the debate. Is Peter's video link on yet? Peter, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Peter, can you hear me? Trying to fix your video link here.
Would I have a chance?
I can hear you. Okay, Bohdan, I know you have to go. Yeah. One second. Can I get your video back, please? Can you try to get your video back? I have your audio with us. I don't have your video, so I'm requesting our producers as well as to you. I need to get you back on the debate, Peter. We're going to redial you. Before that, I'm going to go to Yaroslav Bosko. Yaroslav, please come into the debate with Nikita. Nikita, what proof does Russia have that this was a Ukrainian attack? 1 minute, just a minute, just allow me to complete. I haven't finished my question.
Okay.
My point is, at some point of time, it could also be a false flag operation, so that you get a justification for doing what you're doing, so that you can subdue Kherson and create a separate state. So it is entirely possible that Russia could have staged the Belgorod oil depot attack so it could justify its psyops in Kherson to subdue its protesting residents and prepare to conduct the widely reported referendum for creating a Kherson People's Republic. So that's the way some people are looking at it. That's all a frame-up. It's a false flag operation.
First, it is absolutely conspiracy theory, because Russia do not need any kind of justification for self-defense. It was Ukraine who started this war 8 years ago. They have 8 years to kill people in Donbass. More than 10,000 people was killed there. And what is the problem?
Yeah, I can see you, Peter.
Can you see me?
What is the problem now for us for self-defense? Okay. And please give me one more minute. We saw here Mr. Groisman, so-called former prime minister. But 2 years ago in Ukraine, they published records of conversation between President Poroshenko and Biden. And now everybody knows that it was Biden who ordered Poroshenko to nominate Groisman as a prime minister in 2016. So, of course, everything is said by Mr. Groisman is just repeating the words of his master, Mr. Biden. It is not Ukrainian position. Ukrainian position is Zhuravka.
No, my question is, you give me, Nikita, 1 minute. Nikita,
who rejected to fight
Mr. Nikita Menkovich, 1 minute. Mr. Menkovich, can I get your attention for a minute? See, we are in a very, can I get your attention for a minute, Mr. Menkovich? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I don't want to get into the intricacies of Ukrainian politics. Every country has politics, but today we are very concerned. And the reason we are concerned is because Russia is saying that the visuals on your screen, ladies and gentlemen, if I can just show the pictures full frame in case you missed the news, you see, viewers, there have been not one but 2 attacks. We have the video as well, 2 attacks within Russian territory in the city of Belgorod. And just to show you, if I can pull out the visuals out there, the allegation is that there are 2 Ukrainian military helicopters which have entered, I have the raw footage as well, please, if I can, which have entered the Russian city of Belgorod and struck at a fuel depot. This is the first time, you see, Peter, this is the first time that Russia is officially making an accusation of a Ukrainian airstrike on Russian soil, which means the retaliation could be extreme. No, and why not first time? Okay, 1 minute. Why not first time? Okay, Nikita's back. Nikita, 1 minute. Peter, just wait a minute. Nikita back on screen.
It is not the first time because...
Nikita, what did you say?
I said it is not the first time because it is not the first attack by Ukrainian army against objects in Russian territory. For example, we can remember attack in 2021 against objects in Crimea committed by military intelligence of Ukraine. We can remember February 22 this year. When the
no, 1 minute. I'm not going back. I'm not going. No, Nikita, you're pulling me too far back into Crimea. I want to talk about right now, Nikita. I am tense about this situation. I am worried about it, Nikita. No, Nikita, I'm not against facts. Please understand. I am not in a theoretical discussion, Nikita. 1 minute. All I'm saying is, no, 1 minute. Okay, we have Peter here, who you call a CIA agent and all that. I want you to give Peter proof that it was the Ukrainian military helicopters which entered Russian territory 40 kilometers, struck, destroyed a fuel depot and went back. Give him the proof right now that it was.
Mr.
Otherwise, without proof, what does it mean?
In Belarus
give Peter the proof.
Activity, for taking part in a conspiracy to kill a president of Belarus. He's wanted there. If you don't believe me, send Peter to Minsk, and local police will be glad to.
Are you saying Peter is an assassin? 1 minute. 1 minute. Are you saying that Peter? 1 minute. Can I be? Are you saying the man in the screen right now who's smiling is a trained assassin? Are you saying that Peter Zalmayev, in the top left of your screen, is an assassin who was part of an assassination attempt on the Ukraine?
His co-dealers gave a witness against him. He's wanted there. If you don't believe me, you can ask Minsk officials about his activity. He's wanted also in Kazakhstan for some.
May I say something in my defense?
Please give me a chance. I'm speaking now, Peter. We're not in Langley. When you will be back in your chief, you will be free to talk. But now, please. Hear me.
Okay.
We're not speaking here about Mr.
I
Zalman.
haven't been able to say
It is his
anything
problem. We are
since
talking
like the
about
beginning of the
Ukraine
show, folks.
aggression
Can you,
against
Mr. Arnab,
Russia.
can you let me speak
As I
uninterruptedly
said,
for at least a couple of minutes?
we are
Why am I
dealing
here?
with aggression in
Why am I here?
Nikita, let Peter speak. Let Peter speak, Nikita. Let Peter speak. Peter,
This is impossible.
Peter, did Ukraine send military helicopters? Did Ukraine send military helicopters to strike inside Russian territory in Belgorod?
Yeah, let me say, if you allow me. I mean, what you're seeing from before I would comment what Nikita is saying. Once again, he's attacking me ad hominem. It's an attack on a person. You know what? I know Nikita is very active on Facebook. I don't know who he is, but I've seen his posts about me. And they're all fake, obviously. But I don't know what Nikita is, and I cannot claim that he's working for FSB. And that's the difference. You know, they are making these accusations. I have not been to Belarus in 15 years. I have no contacts with folks in Belarus. I have had nothing to do with anything there, or in Kazakhstan, or anything else that they have claimed. This is just to give you an idea how these people operate. They're throwing around accusations, etc. And what he said about Mr. Groisman, having called him your guest on the show, a so-called prime minister, tells you everything you need to know about Russia's attitude about Ukraine. Russia does not believe that Ukraine has or can exist as an independent country. They do not respect Ukrainians. They think of it as a colony. So as a result, we're having a colonial war. Now, to your question about the target, I do believe it's a legitimate target. Once again, I'm not sure who did it. It could be a provocation by the Russians, but it's an oil depot. The Russians have unleashed a whole campaign of terror on our cities. They're bombing our cities, indiscriminately. This was an oil depot, and as such, it is obviously responsible for fueling and refueling, planes that have been bombing Ukraine. It is a legitimate target. I'm fully with Bogdan Mihailo, who said that it is legitimate. It's not about escalation. The escalation happened on February 24th when Vladimir Putin decided to go shock and awe and bomb the entire territory of Ukraine. If that hadn't happened, there would not have been any bombing of any depot in any city, including Belgorod.
Yeah, but it's Peter. Let's not. We cannot be. I want to bring in Valentin Yakushik also. But before that, Yaroslav Bosko. This escalation is not necessary in my view, Peter and Mr. Bosko. You see, Russia is sending mercenaries. Ukraine is taking Western weaponry. I think, Mr. Bosko, Ukraine is under pressure to strike at Russia and escalate this. And Ukraine, in my view, must resist the pressure to strike within Russian territory, because that is playing both into America's hands, because the war will escalate, and Russia's hands, because Russia will say, yes, Ukraine no longer has the moral high ground. This escalation will get nothing. It will give Russia a reason for further and more dangerous attacks, and the West a reason to keep provoking. So I think it's dangerous. Don't you agree, Mr. Bosko? Most of all, it is dangerous for the people of Ukraine, because Putin is going to be irrational in his response.
I'm seeing that is big problem not only for Ukraine, but also for all people around the world, because Russia used this situation with this oil depot in Belgorod as maybe point to legitimize using of the nuclear weapons or chemical weapons or something like that. Because in Russian military doctrine, there are several points that says that Russia has a chance to use nuclear weapons there are some strikes at the Russian territory. And I should say that it's too late to think about the escalation, to think about maybe United States conspiracy and so on, so on. We must think how to stop the aggressor. Aggressor in this story is Russia. Russia using their weapons against civilians. They have a full-scale aggressive war in the center of Europe. They have 3,000 of the front line that are full on the Ukrainian territory. Any Ukrainian soldiers has not crossed the border with Russia. Never. a lot of Russian soldiers
That is
violate the human rights, violate the borders, and these are results.
Mr. Bosco, Mr. Bosco, see, please understand this. This invasion must stop. The violence must end. But there must be dialogue. The problem with this, if Ukraine is behind this, is that the dialogue will suffer or may stop. And Alexander, Russia, in my view, will use it as an excuse to escalate. So far, there was this whole impression that Ukraine is a victim. But if Ukraine also becomes an aggressor, then the whole dynamics of this war changes. Yes, Alexander, from Moscow. Alexander, and then Valentin. Alexander.
Yes, first of all, I joined the attitude of Nikita that Ukraine never had any high moral ground because the Russian people in Donetsk were killed, shelled, indiscriminately shelled, bombed for 8 years,
sorry,
and nobody
these people
knows,
are Ukrainian
nobody
citizens,
cares,
not Russian
nobody.
people. They are Ukrainian citizens, and world recognize it as Ukrainian citizens.
Yes, these people dared to say about their Russian identity. They dared to have referendums. And don't interrupt me because I didn't interrupt you. What about the strikes on Russian territory? It's not the first strike, and in Belgorod, not only fuel stores were touched, but also printing house was bombed, for example. And I guess why nobody said that. Also, when we speak about the escalation of the conflict, I was on Russian TV this morning and nobody talked about that. So I don't think that Russia will play this card, for example, at least this day. I think that Russia showed the world, clearly showed after the Istanbul talks, when Russian army declared the will to reduce its forces in Kiev and Chernihiv region, that it has will to de-escalate and defuse the conflict. But today, of course, after this attack, the line of war zone was blurred, and we have no real boundary between Russia and Ukraine, and both are part of this huge war zone, and so there will be only one authority to rule over these territories, or Russian or
Valentin.
not. So Russia has no other option than to go forward as far as possible. And what is also important, you said about the false flag operation, and
no, that's my worry also. You see, Valentin, Valentin, that's my worry, you know. And I want to go to Valentin for a minute. You see. Can I just get a quick response from Valentin in Kiev? Yeah.
Let me start with your idea that in this way Ukraine becomes an aggressor as well. Ukraine doesn't become an aggressor. Probably now the Russian leadership is thinking how it should have been preparing the pretext of the war, how Ukraine to make an aggressor. Well, they failed. They are very clumsy in their mirroring the West. When the West was doing similar things in Yugoslavia, in Iraq, in Libya. And in that case, neither Yugoslavs, Serbs, Iraqis, Libyans, they didn't dare to attack those who were attacking them. Ukrainians are more brave. They do that, and they do not become aggressors. I do not say that it's good. I'm not assessing from a moral point of view. I'm assessing as political scientist. Well, it's a logic of, well, for Indians, you know very well the logic of Kurukshetra war described in Mahabharata, when the more and more lethal weapons were used by both sides, when there was attracting more and more forces from all over Bharata. Now it's being the same in the East Slavic world. There are many forces who are interested in making this war last as as long as possible. It is necessary for military-industrial complex, and it's interesting for those who want to evict Ukrainians from their territory. Already more than
Just
4
1 minute. I'll go to
million
Peter in a minute.
Ukrainians left
Can I just
Ukraine.
speak to Valentin? Valentin, please. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, please continue. Sorry. Yes, Valentin, please continue. Peter, I'll come to you in a minute. Yeah, Valentin, please continue. Yeah.
So in this case, in Ukraine, there may be two logics. One, logic to fight till the last Ukrainian, to evict Ukrainians abroad, and then to use our territory for other people. One logic, Russian military machine can destroy Ukrainian military machine and the whole Ukrainian nation. It's necessary to stop the war. Ukrainians will fight as heroes, but Ukraine is not capable to fight with against this machine for a very long time. So there is the second logic, a logic which was used 104 years ago by the leaders of revolutionary Russia at that point. Their leader was really like a dictator, revolutionary, and he managed to impose his logic on other revolutionaries when he said, now we signed this awful peace with German and Austrian empires. And then he was right at this point. In 8 months' time, German Empire, Austrian Empire, and Ottoman empires were destroyed. But in our case, it's not possible. Our leader cannot afford such.
Valentin, see. Valentin, see. Peter, 1 minute, please. Peter, I'm just responding one point to Valentin. Professor Valentin Yakushik. Ukraine is on its own. Ukraine needs to understand that. The money being spent for weapons into Ukraine is only being given on the assumption that the only expendable people are the people of Ukraine. The casualties will only be of the people of Ukraine. I think it's a terrible idea, if Ukraine has done it, to send these Mi-24 helicopters to fire rockets from a low range, a low altitude to the oil depot, because it will have a monumental impact on the perception. And it will open this up into being an open war. And Professor Yakushik, you know, and Peter knows, you know that there has been a significant moral advantage that Ukraine has had by saying we are the victims and they are the aggressor. My previous panelist, Bodan, said we may have had 2 strikes, they have had 100 strikes. It does not matter. The fact is they have struck and you have struck. So I think it's a terrible idea. And then for your foreign minister to say we can neither confirm nor react also does not make sense when Mr. Dmytro Kuleba categorically refused to deny the attacks, which means he's admitting the attacks. And in international law, this will be then equalized. And as far as Ukraine, my friend Yaroslav Bosko said there that we've not sent our soldiers. Mr. Bosko, does it matter whether your soldiers walked across the border or flew across the border in an Mi-25 chopper? It doesn't. It doesn't.
It's serious.
I think if there has been a strike, I don't know.
If your soldiers have only war on your territory, you cannot be an invader like Russians.
Can I say something? I thought that was next, Mr. Arnab.
No. Yes, hello? Peter. Yes, Peter.
Mr. Arnab, if you just allow me like 1 minute uninterrupted, I would just say I would take issue with what my colleague in Kiev has said. Rather than to say what Ukraine will not be able to do, I think we should concentrate on the fact that the army of Ukraine is all of 35 million of its people. Already, Ukraine has confounded all expectations, including by Western intelligence services, who predicted that Kiev would be taken within 96 hours. Look what's happening now. Russians are retreating, even though they're still bombing Kiev, but they're doing it cowardly because they're lacking the military strength to really try to achieve any victory. So they're going to try to inflict as much pain as possible. So we're not alone, because finally Europe, the West, US, but even China, folks, understand that this is a war being waged against a madman. This is what distinguishes Ukrainians from Russians. Ukrainians do not associate themselves with one man. Mr. Zelensky has been more than capable leader. But if he were somehow to disappear tomorrow, there would be no lessening of Ukraine's resistance. Ukrainians are fighting for their country. They're doing it nobly. For Vladimir Putin, though, we are hearing that Vladimir Putin is obsessed personally with Ukraine. We're hearing credible reports that Vladimir Putin has been stricken with an oncological disease. He's got cancer. He's been taking serious doses of steroids. Russians do not see a separation between Russia and Putin. To them, Putin is Russia. Well, bad news for Russians. You know, Putin is going down very quickly. He's going to probably die pretty soon. And then the question for them to decide what are they going to do about the country. Putin has done a terrible has committed a terrible miscalculation about Ukraine. He did not expect this sort of reaction from the world. He did not expect that China would not help him. And look, China is not helping Russia. Russia is completely alone, not Ukraine. Ukraine has the sympathy of the entire world. And even India now is taking a more careful position vis-a-vis this conflict, okay?
Nikita?
Okay. First of all, we discussed the problem that the act in Belgorod isn't first act aggression committed by Ukraine against Russia. It will take long years ago, they declared that they do have war with Russia. They sent those terrorist groups to our territory to commit attacks. They killed people in Donbass, Russian people, for 8 years. Of course, we have no need for any other arguments to go to Ukraine and stop this terrible war. Russia isn't one who started it. We came to finish it, just all. The second problem is that most of the people of the world do understand that Russia is right. Because if you will watch what is happening in France, even in the United States, a lot of people are going out
Nikita,
and saying,
Nikita, these
Russia
are all questions of perception. These are all questions of perception. I'm just getting some breaking news coming in that the Russian Ministry of Defense has said that the Ukrainian military headquarters, Russia is claiming right now, I'm just putting the breaking news, Nikita, Russia claiming that in an operation, in a tactical aviation hit, they have hit 40 military targets. Russia claims it has just destroyed the military headquarters of Ukraine. So whether or not this was a Ukrainian involvement with the Mi-24 helicopters, Russia is using it to justify an intense counter-response. Ladies and gentlemen, on the other side tonight, Sergei Lavrov is in New Delhi, and he's been talking to our foreign minister. He's been talking to our national security advisor. He's had a one-on-one meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well. India is getting drawn into this. Will India play the role of mediator? Let's see on the other side.